Hello, my name is Ricardo Costa and welcome to day 5 of this Photoshop series in just 10 days. Since you're starting in Photoshop, it's absolutely essential that you understand the concepts it uses to create images. This will be crucial when it comes to creating work that meets the right specifications. Now, I know this can be a bit of a tricky concept to wrap your head around at first, but trust me, once you've got it down, you're gonna feel much more confident using it in Photoshop. In today's tutorial, we're gonna be diving into some important concepts like image data, image size, data size, dimensions, resolution, and even take a look at the crop tool. So let's get started. First things first, we need an image to work with. I've included one in the project folder which you can download for free using the link in the description. Once you got the folder open, head over to the day 5 and open up image 06. And there you have it, guys. Let's get creating. In Photoshop, we can easily check out the image size, dimensions, and resolution of any image. All you gotta do is come up to the top menu, select image, then scroll down and click image size. Easy peasy, right? Once you've clicked on it, a menu will pop up giving you all the important details about the image. At the top, you'll see the image data size, which in this case is 399 megabytes. Next up, we've got the dimensions of the image, which in this case are 1181 by 1181 pixel. If we take a closer look, we can also see the physical image size, which is 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. And if I click on the tab to the right of Choose Pixels, we can see that the values are the same as the ones above. Now, here's where things get really interesting. If we want to change the image size or dimensions, all we gotta do is type in some values in this menu. It's as simple as that. Now, let's take a look at the resolution of our image. Currently is set to 300 dpi, but we can easily change this by typing in a new value. This information, along with the image data size, physical dimensions, and resolution, can be found in the image size menu. As you continue to use Photoshop, you'll find yourself frequently referring to this menu to ensure you're working with the correct size and dimensions. And if you need to make changes, all you have to do is enter new values. For instance, if we reduce the resolution from 300 dpi to 72 dpi, Photoshop will automatically scale down the image accordingly. You'll notice that the dimensions above show the new size of 283 by 283 pixels if we were pressed to OK. Additionally, Photoshop indicates that the image data size will be reduced from 399 megabytes to 234 kilobytes. In Photoshop, we can change the physical size of an image using the image size menu. If we change the unit of measurement to centimeters, the physical size remains the same at 10 by 10 centimeters. But when we change the width and height values back to pixels, the resolution remains at 72 dpi and the estimated image size goes back to 399 megabytes. This shows that DPI does not affect the physical size of an image. We can also use the short key Alt-I to open the image size command menu, and by changing the width and height values to 500 pixels each and pressing OK, we can see the image size decreased. So whether we need to check or change the image size, we can easily do so by going to the top menu, selecting image and clicking image size, or by using the shortcut key Alt-I. When working with Photoshop, it's important to keep in mind what you're creating and what it's intended for. You can approach your design with two different mindsets, print or digital. When designing for print, it's crucial to pay attention to the physical image size and resolution. To understand these concepts better, I've prepared a document for this tutorial. Open the 05 print example from the project folder and you should see an image with 4 different color code terminologies on the top left: image size, image data size, dimension, and resolution. Image size refers to the physical size of an image, which is the size it will be if you print it out. In Photoshop, this is measured in millimeters, centimeters, and inches, just like in real life. In the diagram provided, each image is 10 by 10 centimeters, and they are all the same physical space. You can see this represented by the pink lines on the left and bottom of each image, with the space between each line getting larger on each example towards the right. Now, keep in mind, image data size is the file size on your computer hard drive. If we look carefully, we can see, unlike with image size, the image data size varies on each example. Dimension is the image size on your computer screen. In Photoshop, this is also measured in millimeters, centimeters, and inches, but also importantly, pixels. If we look carefully at the diagram below, we can see the pixel dimension vary on each example, getting larger to the right. Next, we have resolution. This is the pixel density contained inside an image. We learned in the previous video that raster images are made of visual pixels. Resolution is always measured and referred to in dpi, dots per inch. This is the number of pixels that are contained in each inch of an image. So dpi is the amount of pixels that are squeezed into a physical image size. That image that you hold in your hand, if you look at the diagram below, we can see the various dpi applied to each image. The bigger the dpi, the bigger the pixel dimension. Let's dive deeper into the different technical terms you need to understand when working with images in Photoshop. First, we have image data size, which refers to the amount of space the image file takes up on your computer hard drive. You'll notice that this varies for each example in the diagram. Dimension is the size of the image on your computer screen, and in Photoshop you can measure this in millimeters, centimeters, inches, and pixels. If you take a closer look at the diagram, you'll see that the pixel dimensions increases from left to right. Next up is resolution, which measures the pixel density with an image. So raster images are made up of individual pixels, and dpi, dots per inch, is the unit used to measure resolution. This is the number of pixels that are contained in each inch of an image. dpi refers to the number of pixels that fit into each inch of an image. Essentially, it's the number of pixels that are squeezed into a physical image size that you could hold in your hand. If you refer back to the diagram, you can see the different dpi values for each example. The higher the dpi, the larger the pixel dimension. So let's say you were to print out each of these images at their native dpi. They will all come out to the same size, 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. However, you may notice that they look different in size on the screen. If you look closely, you'll see that each image has a different dpi. The dpi, or resolution, determines the pixel density of an image. The higher the pixel density, the more pixels will be used to make up the image, and thus the larger the pixel dimensions will be. Now let's take a look at the first example on the left. It's 10 by 10 centimeter and has a dpi of 72, which means its pixel dimension is 284 by 284. Since the dpi is only 72, there won't be as many pixels within each centimeter of the physical image size. In the second example, it's also 10 by 10 centimeters. The dpi is 150, which is over double that of the first example. This means that there are more pixels in each centimeter of the physical image size, resulting in larger pixel dimensions. As a result, the space between the centimeter lines is larger in the second example compared to the first example. Now, the third example, which is also 10 by 10 centimeters, has a dpi of 300, which is even higher than the second image. This means that there are a lot more pixels in each centimeter of the physical image size, resulting in even larger pixel dimensions. In fact, the third example contains over 3 times more pixels than the first example at only 72 dpi. So, even though the physical image size is the same for each example, the image with a higher dpi will have a higher quality because there are more pixels making up the image. This higher pixel density allows for more detailed and sharper image, so in theory, the image size is the same, but the image with a higher DPI contains more pixels, which allows for more detail. As we've seen, the number of pixels in an image can greatly affect its levels of details and sharpness. This is especially true in modern digital cameras, which can capture images with high megapixel counts and incredible detail. While these images may appear the same size as traditional 6x4 prints, they actually contain many more pixels per inch, which allows for much greater detail to be captured. It's also important to note that the number of pixels in an image can greatly affect its file size. As more pixels are added to an image, the file size will increase accordingly. When working with images for print, it's generally recommended to use a resolution of at least 300 dpi to ensure that the final print is sharp and clear. While it's possible to work with lower DPIs for print, doing so may result in a lower quality final product. When working for print, it's also important to consider the physical size of the image, whether it's an A4, A5, A3, or a custom size in millimeters, centimeters, or inches. When working with digital images, the same principles generally apply. While DPI may not be as important in digital formats, the number of pixels in an image will still greatly affect its levels of detail and sharpness. By keeping these factors in mind, we can ensure that our images are of the highest quality possible, whether in print or digital formats. Let's dive deeper into this topic by taking a look at another document I've prepared for this tutorial. Go to Project folder and open up the 05 digital example file. Here you'll see 3 images that are all the same dimension but have different DPIs. When it comes to creating graphics for digital media, the resolution you work with is not important as the dimensions of the image. If you're designing graphics for websites, videos, or mobile devices, you'll need to work with a specific pixel dimension. As you can see in this example, the DPI of the image doesn't affect the screen size, since digital images are made up of pixels. It's the dimension of the pixel that determines the image size of the screen. So when designing for digital media, always focus on the dimensions of the image and work in pixels. If you're creating images for retina display, the dimension will usually need to be double compared to normal displays. That's a brief overview of image size, dimension, and resolution for digital media, as well as how to view and change these settings in Adobe Photoshop. Now that we have a better understanding of image size and dimensions, let's explore another useful tool in Photoshop, the crop tool. With the crop tool, we can easily adjust the aspect ratio of our images, which is great if we want to change a wide image into a square format or vice versa. But the crop tool can do more than just that. We can also use it to add more information to our images, which is especially useful if we want to create vertical banners or other types of displays. Using the crop tool to add information to our images is both powerful and easy to do. With just a few clicks, we can resize our image, crop out any unwanted elements, and even add new elements to enhance the overall composition. So let's dive right in and see how we can use the crop tool to take our images to our next level. So for this example, let's open again our image 06 that we used in the beginning of the video. You can either select it by going up to the top toolbar or by using the key shortcut C. Once you have it selected, you'll notice a few options at the top left of the screen. First, there's a ratio button where you can choose the aspect ratio of your crop. For example, if you want a square crop, you can select the 1:1 ratio, or if you want 16:9, you will also have it here. But if you need a custom ratio, you can either enter it right here. Let's say 1:1.25. You Can also switch between vertical and horizontal ratios by clicking the button next to the ratio options. Then, to actually crop your image, just click and drag any of the corners of the crop box. If you move your crop box around, you'll see the ratio options will adjust automatically to match the new dimensions. So there you have it. The crop tool is really simple to use and gives you a lot of control on your image. You can also hold Alt or Option to just crop around the midpoint if you'd like, so it's not going to try to move around with the rest of your image, just the crop's gonna move. Before we dive into cropping, there's an important checkbox that we need to take a look at. It's called Delete Crop Files. You'll find it in the options bar at the top of the screen. I highly recommend making sure that this option isn't checked. If it's checked, any information that we crop will be permanently deleted and we won't be able to get it back. For example, if we have this checked out and I crop the image and then I want to go back, I totally lost the rest of the image. But if we have this option unchecked, look at this. I can crop my image and then if I want to recover part of that cut, I still have the original image here. So let's make sure the delete cropped pixels is unchecked before we proceed. We don't want to accidentally lose any important information. So yeah, okay, we're good to go now. Let's move forward and start cropping. Let's take a look at some of the interesting tools that are built into the crop tool. First, I'm going to clear the ratio so that we can create any crop we want. We also want to make sure that delete crop pixels is unchecked before we start cropping, so that we don't lose any information. Now we have a straighten tool that allows us to click and drag on an horizon to straighten out and any inclination in the image. In this case, I'm going to use the river as a horizon, and you can see that the image is slightly tilted. With the straighten tool, I can click and drag on the horizon and it will automatically straighten our image. After straightening out the image, I can hit enter and I have a smaller cropped image. If I click outside of the image, I can see the rest of the photograph in the crop shield, which is located in the settings. So this crop shield allows us to see a preview of the rest of the image that is not currently in the crop. We can change the color to match our canvas and adjust the opacity. To close the settings panel, we just need to click on the checkbox at the top. So now that I've cropped my image, I notice that there's some information outside of my photograph and it's also a bit rotated. To fix this, I'm going to click on Image and then select Reveal All. This will show me everything that's outside of my photograph again, which is really helpful. Next, I'll hit Undo a couple of times because I don't need that rotational crop around my image. And now we're back to the original photograph. Let's move on to the next settings. In the overlay options for crop tool, we have a variety of options that can help us with composition. The rule of thirds is a popular option that can help us create a more balanced image. We can also use the golden ratio or the golden spiral to help us choose a focal point in the image. In this case, the golden spiral doesn't really work with our composition, so let's go ahead and use the rule of thirds to break up the image into thirds and create a more balanced composition. We can put the water and mountains in the bottom 2/3 and the sky in the top 2/3. By using these tools, we can make sure that our image has a strong composition that draws the viewer's eye into the most important parts of the photo. So let's go ahead and click the checkbox to apply our crop settings. So, one of the great features of cropping is that you can actually resize your image while cropping by simply typing the desired dimension in the ratio boxes. Let's say I want to make a square image with a size of 100 by 100 millimeters. First, I select the 1:1 ratio and check the box. This changes the aspect ratio of my image, but not the size. To change the size, I need to go to ratio box and type in the desired dimensions. I'll type 100 for width by 100 for height millimeters. Now when I hit enter, the crop is applied and the document is resized to 100 by 100 millimeters. To check the size, I can go to image, then image size, and see that the image has been resized. So not only you can change the resolution of your image, but you can also change the size of the document itself. Now, last but not definitely the least, let's talk about content-aware crop. This tool is incredibly useful if you want to extend your canvas and make your photos look more professional. But before we begin, there are a few things that you need to keep in mind. The simpler your image, the easier it will be for the software to generate realistic results. If your photo has a complex background, the tool might struggle a little bit, and I will recommend extending it only a little bit. So let's get started. First, we're going to grab our crop tool and check the content aware option at the top. Then we'll click on our image. In this case, I want to add more information to the top of my photograph, and I'm using a 2/3 sky with 1/3 brown ratio. When we hit the checkbox, the tool will change our crop and figure out exactly what needs to go up there. In this case, it's relatively simple because we have a blue sky, but we're actually going to be able to add information to the top of our photograph. Let's try extending it a little bit wider by clicking and dragging from the left to the right. And wow, simply adding more information to our photograph is incredible. We can also try extending it to the left side as well. It might not be 100% perfect, and you can tell that it just repeats over and over again. But with a little bit of clone stamp work with some adjustments, you can definitely get away with extending your image. Lastly, we can extend it up just a little bit at the bottom as well, and look at that. We just added probably like 20% more information to this photo using the content-aware crop tool. Traditionally, cropping was just used to scale down your images and reduce the amount of space they take, but now you can use the crop tool to add more information. This is incredibly handy, especially if you have images that you want to print at different resolutions. In conclusion, the content-aware crop tool is incredibly powerful and can help you add more information to your photograph easily. And that's it. You will use these techniques a lot during your work. In the next video, we will tackle selections and masking that are so powerful to speed up your process. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found this video very helpful. See you in the next one. Have a great day.